Pete, thanks a lot for coming on Blockchain Rock. Thanks a lot for organizing TriTech. We love the event.
I do. I
do love the
cool.
I love the
logos and all that. Yeah, okay, good.
I do, and we're very, very excited with this partnership, as we are of TriTech in itself as a set of events as well as a platform. So, could you please give us a little bit of an insight into your background, how you became interested in fintech, and what is TriTech and what it stands for, what is its vision, and the floor is yours.
So off you go.
Off you go.
Okay. So my background mainly is as a sales and marketing in technology. So I ran a tech marketing agency for more years than I care to mention. Came down to Gib 10 years ago, 11 years ago. Had my own agency in Gib, doing a number of different things. And then at the end of 2016, really, just as Gibraltar was introducing the DLT regulatory framework, I was thinking about, I've always been interested in how to attract more companies to Gibraltar. And I was looking at that and thinking there's some opportunities around this space. And so I decided to launch an event around that. So I created the Gibraltar International FinTech Forum, GibFin. And the first one we ran of those was in October 2017. And it was completely sold out. We were running the biggest venue that Gibraltar can offer, and it was sold out. We couldn't make it any bigger. We ran another one in March of 2018, and again, completely sold out. Huge interest, and so we then decided. Because the thought process behind it was about creating a platform to attract companies to Gibraltar, then given Gibraltar's historical relationship with the UK and with London in particular, we thought that the best plan was to bring it and run it in London, which is what we did. So we ran GibFin London end of 2018 at the QE2 Centre in Westminster. Mm-hmm. And so my involvement with fintech in particular, I mean, technology, as I say, I've been involved in technology marketing for years, but fintech in particular probably started then in 2017. The next stage for me was to look for other locations where we could take the GibFin brand and where it would work in terms of acting as a catalyst for companies coming to Gibraltar. And we figured that what we should probably look for were venues where there was not only a crypto centre, but a broad fintech centre as well, particularly where there was the investment community and so on. So we looked at Frankfurt, and in particular we looked at Tel Aviv, because the historical relationship between Gibraltar and Israel.
Yeah,
and
there is a huge Israeli community in Gibraltar. I was very surprised to find that.
Yeah, well, that was interesting. I mean, that one of so part of the reason I didn't sleep last night was I was still doing research, and one of the facts that I put in the presentation this morning, which was about the first ever census to take place in Gibraltar was in 1753, and there was a total civilian population in Gibraltar of 1,800 people, and 575 of those were Jewish. So nearly a third of the population of Gibraltar has been Jewish since 1753.
Which really is unheard of.
Yeah, it's astonishing, Yeah. So I was introduced to a guy called Johnny Paul, who runs FinTech Week in Tel Aviv, and we started talking about how we could bring GibFin to Tel Aviv. But the more I was looking at it, the more I felt that it just didn't feel right to just run another traditional conference in Tel Aviv. Just didn't feel right, because it was at a time when the world was saturated with fintech conferences, and by the end of 2018, beginning of 2018, there were a lot of empty fintech conferences around the world, and so I started to think about what could you do to create all of the benefits that are delivered by a traditional conference, but in a way that allows people to fit those into their own working lives, rather than being kind of dictated to, especially when time is the most precious commodity that anybody has now. Okay. And also I felt that we should be trying to embrace technology to deliver this. We work in the technology world, and so we should be looking at ways in which we can use technology to enhance those, the ways in which things like traditional conferences work. And so
you want to provide the benefits that a conference provide for the attendees, but through the use of technology, and in a time-efficient manner.
But I'd also like to add to
that,
the benefits, and the main one there is that so live events are great, but once they're done, they're done. So we're sitting in a venue, we've just had an event. In an hour's time, someone comes in here, there'll be nothing here.
Yeah.
And what quite often happens is that it's then progressing the relationships that you might start at a live event, and then turning those into something that's real and actionable. And so what I wanted to do was to look at ways in which we could use technology to allow people to continue to develop those relationships, regardless of where they were geographically. And so that's when we started to look at how we could use technology to do that. And my original thought was to create an online community where people could share their ideas, where they can think about sharing best practice, where they can share use cases or ideas around particular initiatives or whatever. And I started to look around, do a bit of research in terms of whether or not those kind of communities already existed. And they do, but there's very few of them. There are some that have been around for a surprising period of time, and some of those have now started to work really well, particularly in other European countries. And so we started looking at different software suppliers and found a number of different platforms that we could potentially work with. It's obviously, you can tell it's an immature market because of these platforms. You talk to one and you kind of go, okay, so if I wanted to have some functionality where I can create organizations, and then their employees can be members, and they can post and they can create events and this kind of stuff, what are we looking at? And they go back and they go, well, that would be £25,000, please. And you're kind of going, you're just sticking a finger in the air. You have no idea of the value of this. You're just guessing. And then I found someone that I felt was much more realistic and actually had operated quite for these communities. And this, again, it's a company in Holland. And that's how we've then developed TriTech as it is at the moment. And I describe it in two ways at the moment because we still need to. It's interesting. It's one of the reasons I wanted to run this event was to use the feedback that we get from today to start to really clearly define what it is that TriTech should be doing, what its objectives should be, and from that perspective, today's been really, really helpful because it's helped me to hone my thoughts in that respect. So so now we've launched it. People are a bit more aware of it. They've seen some of the functionality. And the response seems to be very positive. We've got probably about a dozen companies that have said they want to become founder members today. The critical thing, thank you. The critical thing now is engaging those people to make sure that they use the platform rather than just becoming spectators, because the value of the platform will be community generated for the community. And now what I have to do is to make sure that I activate those people who have said they want to get involved so that they are delivering value to the other members and vice versa.
I see. And what is the next event? Because I know I'm aware we discussed previously that this is going to be a set of events, and ideally I believe also this specific event was in London just now, and then I believe you're going to organize an event also in Tel Aviv and in Gibraltar. So do you have a right date?
So again, we use events in the broadest possible way, because we're not talking about physical events. So a TriTech event to me can be an organized conference. It could be a webinar. It could be a round table that somebody wants to run at their own office and televise and live stream, whatever. But in terms of the events that will be organised by TriTech, then we're going to have an annual members assembly that will rotate around the 3 different jurisdictions each year. And the first one of those is going to be in Tel Aviv in February, and it will be as part of, so it's February the 12th, and it will be part of FinTech Week Tel Aviv. And in the same way that this venue today is in Rise London, we're working with Rise. So I'm not a specific conversation about that, but I'm hoping they're going to become one of the founder members as well. So we're going to run the Tel Aviv event in Rise Tel Aviv. And then we're also...
Rise being a Barclays accelerator.
Yes, exactly.
Correct,
It's a
for
Barclays
fintech,
accelerator. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. And then, so at the moment that's scheduled for 12th of February. But I think that within the next 10 days, if you then went and looked at the event calendar in TriTech, you're going to find there's a lot more events. We already have other events scheduled. One which I'm going to get you to do. We don't even know about this yet.
It's great. Great news. We're definitely very much open to it. So.
Well, certainly. I mean, I'm really looking forward to and interested to see the content that comes out of this, because I think that's going to be very useful for us as well, and we'll start to use some of that. But a number of the founder members, I'm in an interesting conversation with a guy here who works for an AI-driven security business that has offices both in Tel Aviv and London. And I'm looking at the possibility of developing some kind of webinar with them around AI-driven security that might be sector-specific. So we might do something specifically for the gaming industry, something for the insurance industry, which also happen to be two of the big sectors in Gibraltar. And the conversation I'm having with them is to say, look, let's work out ways in which we can all help each other with this, because you have a commercial interest in trying to promote your product to the gaming sector and the insurance sector. I'm interested in trying to encourage some of those companies to become members of TriTech. So why don't we work out a way that you can do something within TriTech that also then allows us to promote TriTech to the target audience that we want to recruit. So let's say we do a webinar on AI-driven security for the DevOps guys within the gaming sectors in Gibraltar, then that becomes an interesting business development tool for them. But it also gives me something that I can use to then turn around to all those companies and say, look, you're gaining this benefit through this TriTech tool. It has this much more to offer, therefore you should become members as well.
I understand.
So that's the plan.
Okay, Pete, thanks a lot for spending some time with us.
Pleasure.
Thank you for chatting, and thank you for the partnership and for giving us the opportunity to create some content around TriTech.
The bill's in the post for this. That's fine.
Thanks a lot.